Welcome to the Pharma Sales and Tech Podcast. Tune in to stay informed, inspired, and connected with the world of pharma sales.
Hello, dear listeners. It's Stefan here again, and with the Sales, Pharma, and Tech Podcast, sponsored by Platforce, we have today a wonderful guest. Her name is Nicky Nadem. Okay, I made that right. That's awesome. Nicky works for a small company called AtrimusRx Pharma, if I pronounce it correctly. But I'll let Nicky do her own intro. Nicky, tell us more about what you do and yourself.
So thank you for having me. I work at a company called AtrimusRx, and what we do is we import and supply equivalent to products which are on shortage in Sweden, or recently, for example, FDA approved products or MHRA approved products which are not yet registered and approved in the Swedish market. And the reason we do this is because Sweden and Nordic countries in general have a low population, and we do not have that many approved medicines in our countries. Just to give you perspective, in Germany, I think we have around 115,000, 120,000 approved medicines, while in Sweden, we have around 11,000 registered pharmaceuticals. And what happens is that when something goes on shortage, on temporary shortage in Sweden, let's say due to lack of API or production issues, the physicians and the clinics do not have any other equivalents to turn to treat the patients. Or it could be that there's this new, let's say, oncology product, and it will take several years before it gets EMA approved or become locally registered in Sweden. And there's a specific physician who knows that this could be the medicine for my patient in Sweden, because the patient in Sweden is not responding to existing approved medicines, and they want to try the absolute latest treatment on this patient. So this is where Atrimus comes in, where, we offer alternatives and options to physicians and to pharmacists at clinics and hospitals, and inform them of what is available in different countries. And they go through the details, and based on, patient, details, existing, let's say, disease, they make a decision of which option to go for. So this is what Atrimus does in short.
Mm-hmm. So we usually talk on our podcast about like sales and marketing strategies, but you mentioned an interesting case where you guys had to go above and beyond your expectations, your limitations. It was related to some COVID medicine that you had to ship out from South Korea and Ukraine. Can you tell me more about this case?
Yes, absolutely. This is a case that we're really, really proud of. And this was a couple of years ago, of course. When COVID hit, of course, a lot of medicines went on shortage. And a lot of countries and authorities in Europe decided to impose an export ban on essential medicines, which are needed to, cover their own market and, their own patients, which is normal. And it's nothing, out of ordinary. But what happened was that Sweden faced huge shortages, and no other European country was capable of helping us with providing these essential medicines. One of these medicines was propofol, and it was used to put COVID patients who were in need of, being in these respirating machines or respirators, to put them into sleep. And this medicine was nowhere to be found. We tried everywhere. We tried Europe, we tried US. Nobody could supply us. What we had to do, or what we finally ended up doing, was that we started searching in different languages, and one of them was actually Korean. We started searching Korean, and because there's no global database which shows, all approved medicines, and sometimes you have to do your own, research and use Google. And so we went back to basics. We started searching, and we ended up on this, Korean manufacturer's homepage. We started calling them. We told them about the situation. And we did the same thing with, actually got lucky with a Ukrainian company. And they had enough to cover, their own local market and, treat their own patients. And we had to make an agreement with them. These were two new vendors that we had never worked with. They didn't know us either. And it was a lot of money that we were talking about that they wanted us to prepay. So we had to go to the banks and we had to ask for credit and for loans to be able to prepay these vendors. And we just needed to take in our liquid faith and trust each other. We needed to talk to the hospitals and pharmacies and physicians and see what is the exact volume they're interested in. And the volumes were gigantic. We were talking about several thousands of, packs. And some of these packs were available for immediate shipment, but the rest of them were supposed to be produced and be batch released in the coming months. And we had this really, really tight schedule with the hospitals and clinics in Sweden that we had agreed on and expected us to deliver this medicine on the minute, not on the hour, on the agreed minute. And we just had to make sure that it happens. I think it took huge, it took a lot of time and resources and, collaboration from the banks, but also from, the vendors, the quality and regulatory team, from the sales team, from physicians, hospitals, and clinics to put together this supply and solve this logistic issue. And one of the main challenges with that, finding the stock, was being able to transport it. Because it was COVID year, the entire world and all these different companies were actually importing and buying face masks and these covers that, the hospital and healthcare staff used. And there were no space on any planes to get your, let's say, 18 pallets of propofol and fly to Sweden. There was no way. We tried and tried, and we called every logistic company possible who could help us, and they couldn't because every space was fully booked months in advance.
Wow.
What we ended up was actually we ended up chartering a plane 4 times, 2 times out of South Korea and 2 times out of Ukraine to be able to bring the stock in. And this is something that we've never done in our business. It's quite normal to fly, products, let's say through UPS or FedEx. Yeah. Or like, if you're not in a rush, you get a temperature controlled truck. But we've never chartered a plane in our life. But it was quite interesting and challenging to be able to do that. We got lucky with that as well. We called everyone that we know of. We Googled and we contacted all these different companies. And we sorted it out. We got lucky. We sorted out. We chartered a plane at this huge sum. And we got our 18 pallets. But with our own challenges, everything was done. The paperwork was done. The banks were happy. And then, for example, one issue we had was the customs in Ukraine. They were delayed and they were not releasing the goods, and the plane was supposed to take off at a specific time, and it was 9 p.m. and we had this heart palpitations, and we were so stressed and nervous because the day after we had promised the hospitals in Sweden that they were going to get the stock. The plane was supposed to arrive in a couple of hours, and then we had trucks ready at the airport where we're supposed to go and split these pallets into different shipments and into different long haul trucks and sell them to different sides of the country directly to hospitals. But it works out at the end. We got lucky and we repeated the same deal and the same transaction and supply and logistic chain 3 more times. So in total, we had to charge a plane 4 times to do that. And as far as I know, we were the only one who could do this. And we're very proud of it because we ended up doing things which were out of our comfort zone. We didn't have the space in our small warehouse back then to even store 18 pallets. We could do 2, 3 pallets. I mean, there was no way we could handle 18 pallets. The entire team in the company came together and we went to the airport and we started splitting, going through, and imagine doing a batch control of so many different packs. And when we got 18 packs, it was 6 different batches. It was standing there and going through that for hours trying to do this split. And of course, at the end of it, everybody felt good because we actually got to save patients. So that is one of our proudest moments in a company. And since you've done that, you think that anything is possible. Because you have the help and support of our vendors and our suppliers. We are capable of doing anything.
That's a wonderful case study of great teamwork on both from your side and the supplier side. Okay, my question would be more in terms of, so you guys are a small company, so you're supposed to be more like agile. I was wondering, what We just discussed the usage of Pharma 14. Is that the Israeli company that supplies you with data?
Yes,
But
correct.
I was wondering, how do you use this data to like improve your sales or like track sales, or like how do you use data for your sales
We
work?
use data to source medicines that on a routine basis would not be able to find in our own, let's say, local Dropbox database that we have built or online.
Mhm.
And because of language issues, so this data with Pharma 14 shows us what product, for example, is available in South Korea that there's no way I would have been able to, find if I went to Google, for example, regarding, under normal conditions. Or it shows us products in, Asian countries that we wouldn't normally go to stores for. So it helped us with sourcing. It also gives us an indication of what the pricing is in that country. So it also helps us with, negotiating prices with our existing vendors. And it gives you a general overview of what our competitors also capable of sourcing and what their pricing would be. So
Mhm.
that's how we use it.
Yeah, we talked about using data, and one of the the biggest data supplier on the market is IMS, which is now IQVIA. And what I found very interesting is that when we were in the Philippines with our company platforms, I visited local potential customers. I actually asked, like, how did IMS get so much data on prescription and drugs, right? And doctors. And apparently they have these like carbon made like dashboards where doctors write their prescriptions, basically
Mhm.
write carbon, and it leaves a copy there. And all that copy is basically the property of IMS. So they give out free notebooks, but in the back they have the prescription. And basically that's how they get all this data and all these like doctors writing prescriptions, and that's how they get all this data on like how much prescriptions have you made, what market. And then I think if you put it together, you know what the supply is, you know what the demand is, then you have these like huge data companies. Like, so they're doing a great job. I have nothing but to praise. I was wondering, like, so your relationships with suppliers are like very tight. How do you manage those relationships, right? Like, you have to be professional, but at the same time friendly. Like, do you have a way to do that?
Um, Quite, we are extremely loyal to our vendors.
Hmm.
And we started the company 7 years ago. And when you have zero turnover and you're really back end, there are not a lot of companies who are willing actually to work with you. So since we started Atrimus in 2016, there were a couple of vendors that we knew from the past, and they were willing to give us a bit, better, credit terms, and they were willing to supply us and help us to get on our foot. And so, and we never forget these things. We never forget who helped us when we were a really, really small company with, let's say, 2 shipments per day to the pharmacies. And we stay loyal. And just because another vendor comes and says, look, I can offer you these German or these American products 10% cheaper, we don't switch. We never switch because of that. And we make sure that our vendors know that. We also want our vendors to benefit from our collaboration. So we try not to be price sensitive, and we ask them for service, agility, and being, quick on their feet. And for that, we have no issue paying a little bit more than the other customers. So these are a few things that we do to keep our vendors close. Also, recently, or like actually a couple of years ago, we narrowed down our number of vendors from, let's say, 20 to actually 5. So we work out with our top 5 vendors. It might, it might sound dangerous to put all your eggs in one basket, but we have done that, and we've trusted our vendors. For example, we have this 1, 2 top vendors in US that we use. We have one German vendor where we buy all our German lines, and they know that. We make sure that they know we're putting all the eggs in one basket and we're trusting them, and they trust us back. So, and they appreciate the business. It becomes also easier for them. Why, for example, it wouldn't be beneficial for them to, for example, is they send 10 packs to Atrimus, 10 packs to Company X in Sweden, 5 to another one, while they could, do, let's say, 50 packs of sugar, if you ship 50 packs to Atrimus instead. It
Mhm.
really less paperwork for them, less, logistic handling for them, and more profitable.
Regulatory too as well.
So we try to make it as comfortable as easy possible to work with Atrimus. So then these are a few examples of how we handle our vendors. Of course, we also try to have these quarterly follow-ups or even, weekly calls if necessary and follow up. And if there's anything that, let's say, is not working for some reason, we call them up and we let them know immediately and we give them the chance to sort it out. We do not just let it go on for days or months and then I guess just get dissatisfied or mad for performing according to expectations. We let them know immediately what they can improve, and they really appreciate it, and they do that.
Mhm.
It's really good. It's a loyal, honest, and transparent relationships with our vendors.
Nikki, how about like your sales side, right? So like how many do you have people who go in the fields and then they visit, say, doctors or pharmacies?
No, because the nature of the business that you're doing is importation of foreign medicines into Swedish market. So
Okay.
by definition, these foreign medicines, let's say if the approved product or if this Swiss medic approved product is not approved in Sweden, you're not legally allowed to market these products in Sweden. So
Okay. Yeah.
no circumstance is allowed to go out and visit physicians and market. We can market our services, but we
Mhm.
cannot promote a specific product.
So basically, if there is an order of, let's say, Atrivin, right? Then, and it's not marketed in Sweden, then in this case, you will deliver it right to the doors of the medical facility, but you're not allowed to discuss capabilities. You're not allowed to market it. Correct?
What we do is if the physician or pharmacy asks us for help, then we're allowed to give them as much information as possible. That's the regulation.
Okay.
If reach out to you to Atrimus, yes, then we give them all the info that they need. But we cannot proactively let them know. And this is quite unfortunate, but we have these huge shortages in Sweden. And a few months ago, there was this eye product which was on shortage, and it was a really important product because I remember patients were being interviewed on TV and in newspapers where they said that they would be going blind if this medicine was not back to the market. And
Oh, okay.
actually, sitting on this product equivalent in a warehouse, and we could not go out and inform physicians in Sweden that we had. So it has its downsides as well. But if a physician who's aware of regulatory and who knows that they can legally prescribe a foreign medicine for a patient or entire clinic, reach out to Atrimus, then we can give them all the information. Just send us an email and say, hi, what do you have available? We can give them all the info in the word. So
Mhm.
it's a bit difficult business to be in. But once you're in and once you're well established and the physicians and the clinics are aware of your competence and your knowledge, and then they come to you automatically. So the way we've succeeded is that we get this daily request. We don't reach out to physicians or to pharmacists and clinics. They come
Mhm.
to
Yeah, when I used to work for this parallel import company, starts today. We did price requests every week. We had price requests. Basically, we would send a price request to our vendors,
Mhm.
and we would send the price request to our suppliers as well. So basically, you would have this database of supply from our vendor, from our people or companies who can supply medicines. And at the same time, you would have some sort of price request from agencies as well, agencies and pharmacies, right? So they would know, yeah, we're still live. So I used to call these request newsletters because they looked more like a newsletter because it was really like a newsletter. I would put sometimes, as I remember now, I put sometimes interesting information about pharma. It was going in the market. And, before me, they were just like simple, like, do you have this? Do you have this medicine? How much? And what package? And what strength? And then I started like making it a bit nicer and then people started reading. So we had a good open rate. Now results were a bit better than before. Long time since then. But that shows the way that there is a place for innovation anywhere, even if it's like such a sort of like,
Yes.
I would say boring, industry or like boring activity that you have to do. Okay, I'm wondering, like, do you have a way? So you guys have, like, if you're small, small companies are usually very agile, very flexible, very technologically innovative. Are there any like, okay, first of all, like, how do you stay up to date to like the latest technology, like sales marketing or sales techniques, like anything that's around that? And like, how
Uh,
do you use it in?
it's true. I would say LinkedIn is through local publications, through newsletters, and then through our IT vendors. Uh, we try. I mean, Sweden's quite digital, and we're really proud of
Mhm,
it. And what we do is, and at that shows at least, every quarter we go to our existing IT vendors and we ask them, so what's the latest thing? What is the latest function, the latest model? And then we try to figure out, is this something that improves our daily work, or is this something that will improve, life for our customers?
mhm,
Either way, if it's something that is beneficial for either side, we try to take it in and implement it.
mhm,
But we also try to be some sort of trendsetter and bring in the latest solutions to the market.
mhm,
That's something they're also proud of. Just to give an example, I believe that, I hope I'm not wrong, but as far as I know, before Atrimus, there was no proper database of unlicensed medicines in Sweden where a physician or pharmacist could actually log in, search an active substance, brand name, ATC code, see the authorization number of that product, download the SPC, see pricing, stock level, latest expiry date, so shelf life, or download product monograph. There were small databases, but they didn't cover the entire, all the necessary regulatory information that was needed for a physician to prescribe this foreign medicine.
mhm,
So we were the first one to actually launch this database in Sweden a few years ago.
mhm.
And it was with actually collaboration of one of the biggest pharmacy chains in Sweden, which we're really, really grateful for. We got their input of how they wanted it. And we did that, and we keep, trying to add more new functions to it on a monthly basis, trying to make their lives easier and make sure that the physicians and the pharmacists spend as minimum admin time on unlicensed medicine as possible. And I've been a trendsetter for that. And we've seen that other companies and other wholesalers and vendors of unlicensed medicine like Angelos are started to use the same layout as us, which is quite a nice compliment. That you're always the first one, and other
Mhm.
companies follow our trend.
You work with was the hard apotheke in Sweden.
And
Hjartat.
like
Was that the one
this
you worked?
for yes, a lot of the pharmacy chains that we so far. You saw the post on LinkedIn yesterday.
Oh yeah, with them as well. Okay, cool. So my question is like, when you get these packages, do you have to translate the labels into Swedish or how it works?
No, we're not allowed. According to local regulations, these unlicensed medicines, these foreign packs, they should be sent to the pharmacies and clinics exactly as they're right. So if you have a Japanese pack, it goes in Japanese, exactly in original packaging to the clinic. If it comes in Greek, then it goes exactly as it is.
So you're not allowed to label it, translate it, or do anything basic.
We're not allowed to touch it,
At all.
at
Oh.
all. Which is quite good. It's a nice thing. So you should have the products coming in and then going out the same day. It's amazing.
So look, I'm wondering, since you guys have been innovative in so many things, right? Like from A
Yes.
to Z, how do you sort of like manage your sale? Like it's a very tough business because you have to deliver medicines like on a very tight schedule. And
Yes.
you have to you try to stay without a big stock, right? Like your stock is literally zero, if I'm not mistaken.
Not necessarily, no. We have, at the moment, we have a portfolio of around 5,000 products, but we
Okay.
stock around 400 or 500 items. And it's a risk you take because
Yeah.
some of these products are products which have been prescribed in Sweden for decades. And you know that they're going to sell. So you bring in, and we always have a 1 month's worth of stock of those specific items. And then, of course, we have sometimes unlicensed medicines for bigger volume products, and we stock those as well. But then the rest of the portfolio are basically on order. If you receive an order from a pharmacy or clinic, they replace them with our vendors.
During the COVID time, so like I assume logistics was a big issue. Is logistics still a big issue for ordering like medicines even after COVID?
It is. It's because I think that if I understood correctly, all these logistic companies have problems with having enough cars and they're all understaffed,
Mm-hmm.
which it's difficult for products to arrive on time and get delivered on time. The majority have the same issue, and I guess and you just end up picking logistic company with the least problems. I mean, you wish for the best and you pray that it works. But what we do actually good that you mentioned is because we had this huge issues with the domestic distribution recently, where the products were not being delivered as within the time frame that we had an agreement on with this logistic company. And what we did was actually we bought our own car, and this for the Stockholm County. We hired a driver, and we took over the Stockholm County distribution by ourselves. We just said enough is enough. We have waited 6 months, and they cannot, sort out the issue. We understand their challenges. They cannot do anything about it. So, okay, let's solve at least the Stockholm County by ourselves. And we've had our own domestic distribution by our own driver and car merch, I would say. And we continue to do that on a daily basis.
Is it like is it a truck or it's like a fridge?
It's a small van. It is a small van. It's a small van. And we have between 10 to 20 shipments per day. So we have our driver, Alex, who drives around Stockholm County and delivers all these medicines to these pharmacies.
Well, you took the matter in your own hands, right?
Yes, I mean, that's what you end up doing. Here's the thing, this sort of the business that you're in, it's so competitive that if you drop your service level, anybody can take over. So,
Yeah.
is extremely important.
The competition is there. If you are not gonna deliver, then the pharmacy will come else or hospitals. Extreme competition for all these tenders.
Yes, exactly.
It's very tough.
Business, you have to be on top of your game every single day, all year round.
Gotcha.
It's fun and it keeps you alive.
I have a question. So you are the CEO, right? Are you the founder of the company?
Yes. We were 2 in the beginning, but now we were 2, we became 3, and then now we're back to.
Okay, tell me, look, I'll tell you honestly, female leadership is very scarce, and I'm actually very proud that you've been recommended this podcast, and I'm enjoying this as well. But I want other women to learn about like what is it to start a company, especially in such a market like the one you do with working with pharmacies and medicines. Tell me a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey as a female. Why is it was challenging personally for you as a female entrepreneur, female business leader?
I think that the biggest challenge I've had has been with the image of manufacturers,
Okay.
where I have not been, I guess, taken seriously.
What in Sweden?
Or no, these are some European. No, not in Sweden. No,
Okay.
European manufacturers. For example, I can give it without revealing too much. We were involved with a Dutch company, and I got tricked. I got manipulated, and the way this person was talking to me was like, "Hey, you need a dollar."
Condescending, yeah.
It's very condescending. And today I regret why I did not walk out of that meeting. I still don't understand why I just sat there and listened. But other than that, to be honest, I must say that I've been very blessed and lucky because in general, I haven't had that many challenges. The bank has always had my back, and my business partner has always had my back. Vendors have always had my back, and the same with the pharmacy chains. They've been very, very supportive since day one, since we started the company. The same thing with our IT vendors. It's like they were this elderly couple who had their own IT company, and they helped us to set up our CRM and business system. As they took us in like we were their children, and till today they still help us with everything. I can call them without advice, and they would help out. So I haven't had that many challenges. It's just that sometimes when it comes to some, let's say, some outside, let's say, European companies, I've had some challenges. I've also had challenge with one American company where attitude was different comparing to, let's say, our company values, and they were on different level. I don't want to reveal so much, but we just ended up not didn't share the same company values, and how you collaborate and how partnership and business is done. And I really, really appreciate transparency and honesty, and there was lack of honesty. Yeah. But other
Is
than
this
that, I've
is
read
this your first enterprise, or you've been doing like business
well.
before?
This is my very, very first.
Oh wow, so much success.
Thank you. And I think the reason behind this success is one of them is being transparent. I've been transparent with everything, with our vendors and also with the pharmacy chains. We're very transparent.
Mhm.
And also I've had really, really, really good colleagues who really care about the business, but also about each other, and they help each other out. Having a great team in place means the world. You can have the greatest business ideas, but if you don't have the team to implement that, they don't matter. They don't matter at all.
Gotcha. So how do you keep your team motivated?
By giving them the freedom to take care of the customers, and they do their own pricing. I give them guidelines in the beginning, what factors they should, think about. But other than that, they have full freedom of handling the customers, and but also paying them handsomely. I think it is very important to give proper salaries and bonuses to the staff and make their lives easy. And they do really appreciate it. So it's the freedom of responsibility where they take care of their customers and clients as they wish,
Mhm.
and but also generate bonuses and salaries, so they can
Okay.
have really good, quality life. I want them to be able to buy whatever they want, to go to any concert they want, to take vacation wherever they want, and be fulfilled. Because life is not about work, definitely not, and they should have really good, quality of life, whether it be going to concerts or taking, long vacations. Quality of life matters. If your colleagues and your employees are happy in private life, then they're also happy and satisfied at work. They have
That's an interesting philosophy. Yeah, I'm gonna write it down.
yeah.
Very cool. So you like the work-life balance, or more like life-work balance, right? More
Yes,
on the life side, less.
yes. I don't think you're born in this world to work. Absolutely.
And you're a business leader. Wow. All right. I'll know that. Okay, we don't have much time left, so I'm gonna ask you your last question. So what would be the advice you would give to other, let's say, female leaders in pharma?
I would say that be humble. That's extremely important. Ask your colleagues and your coworkers for their opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And even though you've been successful for years, don't let it get into your head. I think it really helps when you're down to earth. And I would say, try to be as transparent as possible with your customers. That is something that has helped us so much during several occasions. Even when it comes to tenders, I can give an example. I tell the pharmacies what are raw purchase prices. I tell them exactly what it is. Yes, and it works. They appreciate it because it takes away this illusion or this potential illusion or idea that because we're a private company, we are greedy and we are there to make as much money as possible. Yes, we're a private company. Yes, we would like to make money, but we also want to be transparent and show that, show the numbers and figures. So we tell the pharmacy chains, we show them the raw purchase prices, and we tell them, well, look, we've added 35% because of this and this and this. And it
Yes.
every single time.
People would be amazed how small of a markup, though, actually, distributors, like what companies like you make. I think it's better if you actually tell them. It will open up. Most pharmacies are like vendors, they think, oh, like you charge billions, but actually it's like a very small markup that you live by.
Yeah, true.
Cool. Thank you, Nikki, for the podcast. Hopefully we can meet maybe in a year time, and you'll tell me more wonderful stories. We'll
So
gather more learnings from. Okay.
thank you so much for having me.
Have a good one.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Welcome to the Pharma Sales and Tech Podcast. Tune in to stay informed, inspired, and connected with the world of pharma sales.